you can basically cancel the resonance skill, and this doesn't exist in this character, so this character just punishes you for using an ability
and makes his overall gameplay experience one of the most clunky in the game. Many of these issues weren't apparent.
And if you want to get the whole value from Calcharo, you would probably need to play against target dummies, because they don't do damage, you won't need.
It works fine in single target scenarios, but is undeniably one of the harder attacks to parry with, given the strict timing window on parries and the need to line up attack frames with the enemy.
Please.
So I've been seeing a lot of these types of videos on YouTube, which makes me quite sad because even though Ling Yang is my main in Wuthering Waves, Calcharo is my closest second, so I decided to finally step up and do something about it. Don't get me wrong, everything that was said in these videos are actually valid, but my problem is that they fail to provide any meaningful solutions to these problems that Calcharo has, which makes it look like that's the end of Calcharo or he has become unplayable at this point. So in this video, I'm going to go over all those problems that Calcharo has, which I could find, and provide solutions to them, which will include some really cool game mechanics so that you can enjoy him as much as you want. Before we begin, I would appreciate it very much if you could like this video and subscribe to support the channel. We're going to take a look at 3 of these problems that Calcharo has, including the quick swap nerf, his skill locking you in an animation, and lastly, how to get 3 consistent death messengers when you're in his liberation. Let's start with the quick swap mechanic nerf. Quick swap is a very broken mechanic that not only proves or demonstrates a player's skill, but also had the potential to increase your team's overall DPS. I want you to put more emphasis on the had part of my sentence, and this is because the most important benefit of quick swapping has been erased from the game completely. Let me explain. In this clip, you can see that I swapped to Ling Yang from Sanhua and triggered Ling Yang's intro. Now, while Ling Yang is in his creative mode doing damage, you can see that I swapped in Verena to trigger Ling Yang's outro nuke and still swapped back to Ling Yang within the 1 second swapping cooldown. This is what we call quick swap, and it was made possible because of Ling Yang's long basic attack animation. It looks really smooth and so cool, but the problem is that I have now lost the buff that I gained from Sanhua simply because I performed a quick swap from Ling Yang to Verena and back to Ling Yang, and the game sees this as I have switched the character out of the field, which in Sanhua's outro description, if the character is switched out, you will lose the buff. This nerf really hurts Calcharo because his death messenger has a very long animation and you can get slapped by the enemy very easily if you stay on him for too long. So the optimal way to play him is to quick swap to another sub DPS character like Yinlin or Changli to do damage, or quick swap to a healer and buffer like Verena to refresh your buffs so that Calcharo will not take any damage during his death messenger animation. This is why quick swapping is a very important tech to master if you plan to main Calcharo, and while you lose the outro buff from Calcharo's dedicated support like Yinlin, you still get to keep the buffs from echoes like the Rejuvenating Glow and the Moonlit Cloud set, so it's not the end for Calcharo. This even opens up the possibility of using other support characters like Zheng Xin and Zheji in Calcharo's teams, because if you plan to do quick swapping with him, you're not going to enjoy the full benefits of Yinlin's outro buff anyway, aside from the personal off-field damage that Yinlin provides when she's built correctly as a sub DPS, so don't be forced to get Yinlin if you thought Calcharo needs Yinlin to be good. However, if you have Yinlin and want to enjoy the full benefits of Yinlin's outro buff, then the only choice you have is to tank the damage from enemies the right way with the right team comp without doing quick swapping, and this includes Calcharo, Yinlin, and Zheng Xin. Zheng Xin will be your ultimate defense support and healer in your team using the Rejuvenating Glow Echo set because her forte will give you a shield and heal the on-field character once every 6 seconds within a 30 seconds duration. Bear in mind that Zheng Xin's shield does not give you 100% interruption to resistance. Per my testing, it's only about 30%, and the interruption to resistance kind of like only works if your on-field character is actively attacking the enemy. It's also worth mentioning that when the Bellbound shield is active on Zheng Xin, while she's using her forte, she takes 0 damage. Calcharo also has an inherent passive that reduces the damage he takes by 15% after you hit the enemy with a Death Messenger for 5 seconds. If you couple this inherent skill with Zheng Xin's shield, you can safely do more damage to the enemy and increase Calcharo's odds of survival while he's on the field with Yinlin's buff. Even though Zheng Xin's shield does not offer 100% resistance to interruption, Calcharo actually has resistance to interruption of his own and is only activated during his heavy attack animation and the Death Messenger animation. So as a general rule, always use your liberation after a successful parry, which makes enemies immobile for a while, or when the enemy's vibration strength is completely broken. I will talk more about this during the Death Messenger section of this video. Let's take a look at the problem where his skill locks you in an animation. Calcharo's resonance skill has 3 stages which help him regenerate all the 3 full stacks when he's not in his ultimate or liberation, which is similar to the Death Messenger, but this time it's called Mercy. The first and second skill cast are fairly quick and has a better recovery time where you can cancel the animation by dashing to avoid incoming attacks. But the problem lies in the third skill cast. It locks you in that cool looking animation, but you can easily get slapped by the enemy while doing this, so I discovered a mechanic that can help you with this problem. Did you know that characters can roll over in Wuthering Waves? That's right. Whenever every character performs a plunge attack, if you press your jump button at the right time, you can cancel the plunge attack into a roll, which can help prevent the split-second delay where your character cannot even dash, and this applies to every character in the game. This mechanic can help solve the issue where your character is locked in the third skill animation, but it requires some practice to get the hang of it. The way that you can do this mechanic effectively is to always wait until you hear the sound effect of the plunge attack, and as soon as you hear the sound effect, you press your jump button to roll over. This applies to most of the characters that I've tested so far, like Jinshi and Sheji. The same concept applies to Calcharo as well. What you need to do is press your jump button as soon as you hear Calcharo's plunge attack sound effect. So what I like to do is to plunge, roll over, and then end it with a basic attack because your basic attack comes out much faster, and you can also dodge during the rollover animation if there is any incoming damage. So basically what this means is that you can do pretty much anything you want once the roll animation begins. It's not that difficult to do, so don't panic just yet. It just takes a little bit of practice. Now, let's move on to how you can get 3 consistent Death Messengers. There are 2 ways to do this effectively. Under normal circumstance, whenever you complete all the 5 Hound's Raw basic attacks, you should get all the 5 Killing Intent stacks, which helps you launch a Death Messenger, but you will only get 4 Killing Intent stacks instead if you mash his basic attack button. What happens is that if you mash your basic attack button, since Calcharo's attacks are so quick, the second basic attack does not get enough time to register as 1 Killing Intent stack. So the first method is to delay your second basic attack after the first one by almost half a second, and then continue to mash the rest of his basic attacks. You can then dash cancel his 5th basic attack, which will help you launch all 3 Death Messengers. I don't recommend this method because the delay timing between the first and second basic attacks can be a little bit tricky, so I prefer the second option, but do try it out and see if it works for you, and let me know your feedback in the comments. I call the second method the power of friendship because Calcharo will now depend on his shadow clone to build 1 stack. This is how it works. When Calcharo is in his liberation, you always have to dash as soon as he starts his second basic attack, which looks something like this. after you dash cancel his second basic attack, Calcharo's Shadow Clone will attack the enemy as well, giving you 1 killing intent stack in addition to what Calcharo initially gained during his first basic attack hit. You then start the whole chain again right after the dodge until you get the full killing intent stacks. Since you get the stacks really fast with this method, you can actually add in some dashes to avoid damage and then dash cancel the dodge counter animation to quickly start the whole chain again, and if you're quick enough, you will still be able to do 3 death messengers. If you have a good ping, you can actually squeeze in 4 death messengers before Calcharo's liberation ends with this method, which is insane, and it has been proven possible by Wallenstein and BZB, so I will link their channels in the description if you want to check out their videos. I get 140 ping on a good day, so 3 death messengers was all I could do. I hope these tips help you enjoy Calcharo, and if it did, be sure to like the video and subscribe to help support the channel. Let me know if I missed anything. Catch you guys in the next one. Bye bye.
So please whatever.